a message from General Pepper. Priority 1, Priority 1.
We need your help, Star Fox. Andros has declared war. He's invaded the Lylat system and is trying to take over Corneria. Our army alone can't do the job. Hurry up, you useless nincompoops! Well, you heard the man. It is time to talk about one of my favorite retro games from the good old Nintendo 64. The legendary Star Fox 64. One of the best remakes of all time.
What? Star Fox a remake? You know, just because the Super Nintendo game looks like Kaleidoscope with the FX chip, doesn't mean it is a remake, or is it?
Yes, it is a remake and a really good one. Because although the first game was revolutionary for its time, it was limited by the capabilities of the Super Nintendo. For example, Mario Kart, F-Zero and Star Fox were very impressive games for the Super Nintendo in terms of graphics, because they tried to be 3D games when the technology was not there yet. And for that reason, they haven't aged so well, which is why these three titles practically had to be remade on the Nintendo 64 from scratch, where they could finally realize their full potential.
Yeah, like the Star Wars Special Edition, you know, read or shoot first!
The story is quite simple. A mad scientist named Andros almost turned the Lylat system into a complete wasteland. Because of this, he was banished by General Pepper to a desert planet called Venom. However, instead of dying in that inhospitable planet, he somehow survived and managed to use it as his base of operations. Pepper, faced with Venom is a strange activity, recruited a first Star Fox team composed of James McCloud, Peppy Har, and Big Madengar.
Hey, you didn't tag a spoiler alert, and that's lame! Now, all the nerds with torches will come after ours, so, spoiler alert, this game is phenomenal. Nyek.
Pigma, as he is literally and figuratively a dirty pig, betrays them, leading to James McCloud dying and Peppy barely managing to escape Venom. After a few more years, a new and younger Star Fox team is formed with James' son Fox McCloud, Peppy from the old team, Falco the Angry Bird, and Sleepy, a very silly nerdy toad.
Hey, what about Rob 64 and General Pepper? They are good guys too! Pepper is like the president of the Lylat system, just like Obama, and Rob 64 gives you backup items like the smart bombs.
Now I will mention the four main heroes.
And the Sleepy, yes, including Sleepy. I like Sleepy, fight me! I know he's a nerd, but he's cool in my book, you know, man. Like Donatello from Ninja Turtles.
Fox McCloud, the hero of this story. He's like a fusion of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. From the former he has that greater maturity, and from Luke that courage and desire to do good.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I'll do my best. Andros won't have his way with me.
Although everyone talks about the edgy mascots with attitude from the 90s, like Sonic or Edward Jim, I think Fox takes the cake.
Yeah, I think one of the edgiest gaming heroes of the 90s is Fox McCloud. First off, he's a bounty hunter. He has no problem of killing his vermilion enemies and also making sarcastic comments when he defeats a boss. And don't forget, also, he's a Smash Bros. Pro legend.
Peppy Har is like the father figure of the Star Fox team, a veteran and a friend of Fox's father. In short, the most experienced one of the team.
It's quiet. Too quiet. careful, it's a trap! Use bombs wisely!
His function in gameplay is very basic. He constantly gives you hints on how to perform certain moves and teaches you how to play the game. Even if that can get a bit annoying sometimes, because by the time you beat your first run of the game, you probably already know how to perform and the basic moves, but he will keep giving you hints anyways, and you can't turn them off. This makes him the most useless companion after you know how to play the game.
Do a barrel roll and never give up! Trust your instinct!
Sleepy Toad. His role is similar to Tails from Sonic, a kind of younger brother that you must protect. And even though Sleepy is supposed to be a real genius and the designer of the Air Wings and the Blue Marine, he always manages to get in trouble somehow.
Slippy, watch out! Bogey on your tail!
Whoa! Help me! Thanks, Fox! I thought they had me.
I don't know why all the fanbase hate the Sleepy. He's just a nerdy toad, come on! He's like a Steve Wozniak! Nyek!
In terms of gameplay, its function is to analyze the boss shield, and that makes a Mega Man style life bar appear.
System now is complete! Enemy shield analyzed, here it comes! You know, I love that catchphrase! It's corny but good old American soil corn like cornflakes and Quaker!
Falco Lombardi. He's Fox's friendly rival. Falco always wants to be the best, but will always be by your side when you need him the most. Even when he makes sarcastic comments after you save his life.
Gee, I've been saved by Fox! How swell!
So, Falco is the Vegeta of the series. Kakarot, Amen Fox!
In terms of gameplay, he's the one that helps you the most by shooting enemies, but his main function is to activate secret areas to take different roads, for which you must always worry about keeping him alive on the team.
Follow me, Fox! Falco, where are you going? I found the target! Try to keep up!
But now we must talk about the most important thing about this game, and also just happens to be the part that has aged the best. Yeah, it is the gameplay, since it is a very simple but addictive rail shooter. The levels are very fun and full of adrenaline with many enemies on screen. It is like a cool roller coaster, very quick and full of energy. What makes the gameplay challenging is that it's easy to avoid most of enemy attacks, but your ship, which are called Air Wings, can only shoot what's in front of it, which means that every time you want to shoot an enemy, you have to put yourself in front of it and expose yourself to being shot. So you have to search for openings in the enemy patterns, but also know when to dodge.
Yeah, controlling the R-Wing is easy at first glance, but mastering its controls is a real challenge. It's elegant and classy, like eating a taco, but not Taco Bell, yuck! I mean real tacos, burritos, with queso, con quesito!
Please, let's go back to Star Fox. We can leave your cheesy jokes for later. Anyways, the main attack you have is a common laser that's very weak, but with power-ups it can become quite powerful. The charge shot is a homing attack, although at first glance it might seem better than the laser, but this is not the case since it is much slower and you can only do one charge shot at the time. If you're fast enough and have good aiming, you can destroy far more enemies in less time and more efficiently.
Yeah, charge shot spamming is for noobs! Just aim, baby, aim!
There is also the Smart Bomb. This bomb leaves a huge explosion and you can remotely detonate it. This is by far your strongest weapon, so you have to know how to use it, and there is a limited amount in each level, so don't waste it.
Do a barrel roll!
So, you have to know how to use them well, especially if you want high scores and get medals, which is the optional final objective of the game. So, this game is just arcade perfection and doesn't even have an arcade cabinet, so...
Please, we need an official arcade cabinet of Star Fox 64!
You can also perform certain maneuvers, such as the very mimed barrel roll, to reflect many laser attacks, or the somersault that allows you to position behind enemies that are attacking you from behind. These moves are especially useful for some of the all-range mode bosses like the Star Wolf team, because you see, there is two types of flying modes for the Arwing. First, it is the regular mode, where you constantly keep advancing forward in an already set path that you can't get away from. This is why the genre of this type of games is called race shooter. But there is also the all-range mode. Here you are allowed to have far more freedom to where to go, even if it is just in a small map. But this mode is reserved for some specific areas and some bosses.
Hang on, guys. Help is on the way. Fox, you made it! Bill! Is that you? I can't believe it! We can catch up later, Fox.
This game is short! You can finish a full campaign in just 50 minutes, but for its time was like watching a movie with plenty of cinematic peace. Eat that, Vermilion scum!
Yes, this game is far shorter compared to something like Ocarina of Time or Super Mario 64. The game is also not that difficult to finish, since they give you plenty of lives. But the real difficulty and replay value is how well you do in each level. For example, beating your highest score and unlocking all alternative routes. That's why I think this game is pretty much arcade perfection. And despite being a very old game, the graphics have aged quite well compared to other Nintendo 64 games, as they are very polygonal and they mostly only have to render vehicles and ships. The Arwing looks like a toy that you could buy at a store. However, I don't want to focus too much on the graphics, as most people these days will say they look bad. But let me tell you that they looked really good and impressive at the time. This game was a very advanced technological masterpiece when it was first released.
Yeah, the magic of nostalgia powder is the best. This generation of whippersnappers don't know what a rumble pack or memory card was. Now it's all about microtransactions and season passes, so Fortnite can kiss the butt of my N64!
For example, let's compare it with Super Mario 64. Even though they are very different games, Star Fox 64, being a linear game instead of an open-world collectathon, can place all its power of the Nintendo 64 in one area.
Yes! For a Nintendo 64 game, it has almost no fog, unlike other games like Spider-Man or Turok 2. This is no Silent Hill with wings!
The music of Star Fox 64 was made by Koji Kondo. Yes, the same guy who did Ocarina of Time. It is very memorable, especially the bosses, and especially the main theme of the game, which gives you a very heroic feeling.
Yeah, I consider this game to be one of with the best soundtracks, but not only on the N64, also in video games in general.
Whoa! Watch out!
has 15 levels, 16 if you count Venom, because those are 2 different levels. While you only need to finish 7 levels to reach the ending, you will need multiple runs if you want to see everything the game has to offer. You need at least 3 different runs of the entire game, and that's if you know what you are doing.
So, it's like Yoshi's Story! Nyek.
Wait, what? No! Yoshi's Story is a game meant to be a kid's first game, with only 6 very easy stages. I mean, sure, you can play it as an adult if you want, but you are not the target audience.
Oh no, sir! You don't know anything about Yoshi's Story! Melon Challenge! I am not talking about boobs! That's Senran Kagura for you! And Yoshi's Story have 24 levels!
Okay, if you say so. I guess you're right. It is similar to Star Fox 64 because it also has a lot of alternative routes. Now let's talk about the levels. And since there's so many of them, to make it short I will only talk about my top 5 favorites. Number 5, Corneria. This is a perfect tutorial level to teach you the most basic mechanics of the game, and you even get to know the personalities of the characters. It even has 2 different roads and 2 different bosses to show you that the game has secrets and much more exploration than what meets the eye.
Yeah, and the first boss is easy as hell. It's really a tutorial level with capital T. You can even destroy his legs before beating the bad guy to make him cry like an anime fan during prom night.
I am not going to comment on that lame joke. For me, the most iconic part of the level is when you enter the city and you see all the destruction that has been caused by Andro's army. And even Falco mentioned how horrible it is.
We're entering Corneria City now. This is horrible.
Number 4, Meteo. This is an asteroid filled with several unique and creative enemies. Here you must learn to avoid many environmental obstacles, like different kinds of asteroids, by using your boost or brakes correctly. And even though it is just the second level of the most basic route, it is already a lot more challenging than Corneria.
And the boss is a jerkass that even fake surrenders before attacking again with a more difficult pattern. It's like that friend that in fights throw you sand in the ace and kick you in the groin. That's lame, Dexter Pester. That's very lame. I know you're a nerdy, but don't fight dirty.
I really like how some enemies hide behind some asteroids, and how some others disguise themselves by making their ships look like space rocks. Though the level it is still not too difficult, it is filled with very fun moments and decent challenges for anyone who is playing a game like this for the first time.
Yes, and even has an old school bonus stage that is hard to get.
Number 3, Aquas. This is the only level in which you use the Blue Marine, but the graphics at the time portraying the marine fauna were quite impressive.
Hey, go back to the game, James Cameron! This level is the slowest one and used to show the power of the N64. That's 60 power! Nintendo power!
Yeah, but I think that despite being an alien world, it represents quite well the duality of the ocean, where there is beauty, but also a lot of danger, since here we see some of the most creative and dangerous enemy types in the entire game.
Wow! Look at that! It's beautiful! How's the Blue Marine, Fox?
Number 2, the Forever Train. This is my favorite level with the Landmaster tank. Here you get to chase after a huge train that's going to get weapons to one of the enemy bases. There is a lot of obstacles that the train throws at you in an attempt to slow you down, like many rocks and flame bombs. So you really need to learn how to use the Landmaster correctly to beat this level.
For a child of the 90s, this was probably the coolest and most radical thing in the world. It's even better than streak sharks, and they were humanoid sharks with a skateboard and sunglasses.
It is also funny to see the train pilot consistently get more and more frustrated the more you keep destroying his train. The boy might seem like a cowardly wimp since he is always trying to escape, until you reach him, and then you get a surprise. But we will talk about that later.
Let him get to the supply depot! Shoot! He's right behind you! Take this! I guess I should be thankful.
Number 1, Area 6. This level is probably the hardest in the entire game, but you really feel like you are facing the last line of defense before facing Andros. They are really throwing everything they have in a desperate last attempt to stop your progress. And you see many of the most difficult enemies from other levels make a return. Also in this level the Great Fox joins in the fun, which feels great. It's like everyone is doing their best to help you reach Venom and end this war once and for all.
Yeah, it feels like watching an action movie. Star Fox is a happy trigger space cowboy.
Even Andros himself decides to give you a call and tease you a little bit. It really makes you feel like you are getting close to the final battle. The boss of this level is also great, but again, we will talk about that later.
Ah, Dr. James McFly. Those tin cans are no mess for me. You can never defeat me. I'll make those fools pay.
Honorable mention, Venom First Road. Obviously we had to mention the grand finale, since it is a great last level that tests your arguing skills with lots of alternative paths to choose from. Also I think this is the level that you see the most amount of enemies on screen. Though you have to remember that Venom is divided in 2 levels and the second route is just a super boss.
So, Venom 2 doesn't count as a level, but as a great secret final boss. So, you haven't really played Star Fox if you don't go for the true ending.
The bosses were very impressive for its time. Before Donkey Kong 64 or Turok 2, we had a Star Fox 64 with the Gargantuan bosses that used all the power of the Nintendo 64. Yes, I know some of the bosses are just bullet sponges that you must keep shooting until you drain all their life.
Take that, Bob Esponja! You ruined Nickelodeon with your stupid Krabby Patties!
But a lot of times you have to shoot them in a very specific weak spot, which requires some aiming. And like I mentioned it before, to see the Mega Man life bar of the bosses, you need to keep Sleepy alive in the level. Otherwise you won't know how much life the boss has left. There is many fun, challenging and creative bosses in the game. So to keep this review short, we will talk only about my top 5 favorite bosses. But first let's talk about the honorable mention, the Spyborg. This is the boss of the Sector X. It is quite challenging the first time, especially when you are a rookie player, since compared to other bosses, it has quite a little more erratic patterns such as moving its arms like crazy.
This boss can also throw rocket punches and fake his death a la King K. Rool.
However, you can only feel nothing but pity for the poor robot, as he was only programmed to destroy you and wants to meet his creator Andros.
So, it's really not that bad, he's just misunderstood, like in Shura's Sailman. On a second thought, he's evil and should be destroyed like all the Insurance Sailmen. Nyeh!
Number 5. Vulcane. When I saw this boss for the first time, I consider to be one of the most visually impressive bosses seen of the Nintendo 64. A bioweapon that is a giant lava monster with cool looking size for arms.
For a child of the 90s, this was the grooviest thing I ever seen in my entire life, and I think it still is. It looks like Magus from Mike the Max toy. Nyeh, nyeh, nyeh.
The interesting thing about this boss is that it has a second phase. Once you destroy its size arms, it actually becomes more powerful since it uses its own blood to attack you and as a shield, and here it gains a lot of new attacks, like a spin where it throws its own blood at you, or a mega lava wave. This makes it one of the most difficult bosses for a lot of players.
Yippee! You did it!
Number 4. The Forever Train Conductor. This boss is very complicated because the Landmaster is not as agile as the Arwing, so you better learn how to use it properly to beat this very difficult challenge.
Yeah, because for this fight, the train transformed into a giant cobra. This game had quite crazy ideas, I tell you, but that's why I love it. I just love it. It's like Space Jam, Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny. It's 90s in a nutshell. And Lola. Bunny, Lola, Lolita, Bunny.
Stop it with the Lola Bunny jokes, you're creeping the audience! This boss has a lot of complicated attacks, like attacking you with his cobra mouth, throwing several flame bombs, and even a very powerful laser that's hard to avoid. Also in its second phase, now you have to shoot the locomotive in a weak point that only appears when it throws a cube with lasers. Then the Cobra head will go all crazy, and this is your chance to unload all your lasers into it. But the most interesting thing about this boss is that there are 2 different ways to kill him. One by draining its entire life bar, and the other by pressing 8 switches that will make him crash into the base that it was supposed to go, which is really satisfying to pull off.
Shoot! He's right behind you! No! Get away! Whoa!
Number 3. Gorgon. The boss of Area 6 is quite intimidating since the fact it has such a strange appearance. Even Sleepy warns you that it's a different enemy from the previous ones. With that, now you know that you will face a quite complicated foe. And he is! Because this asshole can do everything! He can go invisible, he can teleport, shoot missiles, lots and lots of missiles, and even throw lots of enemies at you. It also has some very long tentacles that have a lot of reach, and a giant laser that does a lot of damage.
Yeah, noob players will hate this boss because of that stupid laser thing being one of the most damaging attacks of the game.
Also, the way you damage it is quite out of the ordinary. First you must destroy its tentacles that move around all over the place, then its core will open. Then you must destroy its energy balls that change direction each time you shoot them. Then you must shoot the core, but it has a shield, so it will take a while before you can do any damage.
Watch out, Fox!
Number 2, Starwolf. These guys have some of the best boss battles in the game, and it could be no other than your rival team. Long before rivals became fashionable in video games like Virgil or Jetstream Sam, we had the Starwolf team.
Yeah, and the Starwolf team is like an evil version of the heroes. For example,
Pigma. He's a veteran like Peppy, and he was supposed to be the other friend of Fox's father. But in reality he was just, and still is, a greedy hog.
so Pigma is like the Bobby Kotick of the Star Fox universe.
Andrew is like Sleepy. He's the rookie of the team. But the difference is that he's only there because of nepotism, since he has a connection to his uncle Andros.
I bet Andros only admit Andrew in Starwolf to get rid of him. He's like the Prince Harry.
Leon is like Falco. The difference is that Falco is arrogant, but a loyal friend.
Leon is just a narcissistic jerk. So, Leon is the Steven Seagal of the Star Fox universe.
Wolf O'Donnell. He's like a evil Fox McCloud. And just like him, Wolf is a skilled pilot and a mercenary. The difference is that Fox always fights for the good side.
Meanwhile, Wolf fights only for the biggest sum of money, in this case Andros. So, Wolf O'Donnell is like Nicolas Cage. I love Ghost Rider movie. It's cheesy but classy, just like the dialogue of this game.
The curious thing about the Starwolf is that they have the same moves as you, and it feels like you are playing against other players in the game's battle mode, because all their boss fights are with the all-range mode. So you will really need to learn how to use the somersault and the U-turn correctly to be able to defeat them. And their last fight in True Venom is one of the most difficult bosses in the entire game. This game overall is not that hard, but this is one of the few moments that I still find quite challenging.
Without triple lasers and companions, you are a screw up at this point.
You guys don't give up!
Not yet. The party's just begun.
Take care of the guy behind me, Fox!
Fox, get this guy off me!
I see you've got new shit! What's taking you so long, Fox?
Number 1, True Andros. For the end I wanted to leave the main villain of the game, though on the regular path the first phase is the same, but it turns out to be just a false Andros robot that dies from 2 bombs to the face.
Yeah, what an anticlimactic boss! All the hype! Andros was just a robot, like Mark Zuckerberg!
As for the first phase, I consider it very visually impressive and kinda creepy, since it used all the power of the Nintendo 64 to animate it. You didn't see very often a face like that on a console at the time.
It's like fighting the Mario face that greets you in Mario 64!
You must destroy his 2 hands, then his eyes, and soon you will defeat him. Though be sure to bring a lot of smart bombs, otherwise he will use his inhale attack, sucking you into his mouth, then chew on you and spit you out. but you can avoid all of that by shooting a bomb into his mouth. But the interesting thing is that if you go the hard route and reach the real Venom, there is a second phase that I consider the most difficult boss in the game.
When you defeat Angros, he shows his true form, a pulsating brain.
Only I have the brain to control a lot.
So, Bobby Kotick, you showed your true form!
Only I have the brains to rule Lilac.
So, Andros, you show your true form.
Oh yeah, that's even creepier than his first face. So for me, Andros along with Ganondorf were much more intimidating and darker villains than characters like Bowser, Neocortex or Dr. Wily.
Yeah, I always consider Andros more malevolent than those Saturday morning cartoon villains like Dr. Robotnik. Yes, I say Robotnik, not Eggman. Nyek!
Back to Andros. The difficulty part of this brain form is that he can teleport far away or near you. He's also a lot faster than your Arwing at normal speed, so you better start abusing that turbo. But the most difficult thing about this final boss is the way to damage it, since after you destroy its eyes, that aren't too hard to deal with, you have to shoot the brain's weak spot, the medulla. It's a very specific and difficult point to aim at, and if you shoot any other part of the brain, he will teleport. So you must approach it quickly, not miss a single shot, and try to dodge him at the last second, because if Andros catches you...
If it catches you, you're a scrub. No extra laser and no wings and no chicken wings.
he will take a lot of chunks of your life away. And you will also lose your wings, which makes maneuvering quite difficult. Not only you have to deal with all of that, but once you defeat the asshole, he decides to give you one last fuck you by self-destructing. So now you must get away from the center of Venom as fast as possible to end the game. But here the ghost of your father helps you by guiding you escape. Or is it just a ghost?
Don't ever give up, my son. Father? Follow me, Fox.
This game really gave me a Star Wars vibe, like when you escape off the Death Star exploding and heroic music come out, and the hero escaping by mere second. So, Star Fox is like Star Wars, but when it was a good franchise. So, screw the Disney sequels, and I really hate Rey and Kylo Ren and Stimpy. Nyeh. Nyeh, 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 nyeh.
Anyways, let's move into the multiplayer, which I love. Using cool R-Wings, shooting your friends, and testing your skills versus another player is always fun, especially if you want to do something besides playing the main game.
Yeah, using the ships, or unlocking the Landmaster, or even the Star Fox pilot as playable characters is a nice addition.
Yeah, the multiplayer is a cool idea in concept, but sadly is underused and it has aged worse than the main game. For example, it only has 3 modes, but the first 2 feel almost like the same thing. Point Match is just a deathmatch with 3 lives, Battle Royale is the same thing but with only 1 point kill, and the most different is Time Attack, that is just who kills the most enemies on a time limit. Time Attack is surprisingly one of the most fun modes if you only have 2 players because it's more like a minigame.
Yeah, no bots to fight, just another person. But what happens if you don't have any friends like Dexter the Pester? You're screwed up! And this mode, for some reason, is with more folk than the main game. Star Fox Multiplayer with Silent Hill mode permanent unlock.
But yeah, the main game does not have much fog except the all-range mode zones. But that problem is much worse in the multiplayer. Maybe this mode could have been fixed with the expansion pack. The funny thing is that the game has already a pretty good CPU for this type of battles.
You mean funny? You know, like Duke Funny.
Stop it! You have already overused that joke too many times! Now remember that the game already has the AI of the Star Wolf boss fights. So even when this game came out, I always thought that they could just put the Star Wolf boss AI in a bot to fight in the multiplayer.
The other critic is that the screen is always split in four, even if you're only playing with just another person, and that's a big no-no!
Yeah, maybe the subpar graphics and fog compared to the main game is because it needed to render 4 screens at the same time that divided the power of the Nintendo 64 in 4, so each screen only used 16 bits of power, making it even less powerful than a PlayStation 1 game in the multiplayer.
Please don't make a mistake, the multiplayer is great, but with some polish, could be as good as Mario Kart or Smash Bros. But the multiplayer aged like my green bean jar collection, and they became sentient and evil mutants.
Anyways, let's start wrapping this up. In conclusion, pros. It has a fairly simple but addictive gameplay. And even though it is easy to learn how to play Star Fox 64, the challenge is to master all the moves and controls, knowing when to use bombs, when to shoot or do a charge shot, when to use a barrel roll, etc. Pretty impressive graphics coming from the good old Nintendo 64. It has aged quite well compared to other popular Nintendo 64 games like Golden Age or Pokémon Stadium. Star Fox 64 is still just as fun as the first time I played it over 20 years ago. It is arcade perfection with multiple roads and beating high scores.
Yeah, Star Fox 64 aged better than many games of that era. And the dialogue of the Star Fox team is about camaraderie and friendship. They are funny, you know, like Duke Funny.
Did you really need to put that stupid joke again?
Yes, I almost forgot to put in the video. Trust me, it's working. The subscribers love it. Nyek.
Cons. The multiplayer mode is definitely fun, but it only has 3 stages. It would have been better if they had let you use all the all-range mode areas of the game. It aged worse than the main game and it shows. If you want to reach a specific level, such as Solar, you must first pass in order all the levels that come before, including Corneria, which is always the first area of the game and it only has 2 roads.
Cons! Getting the medals in some levels is almost impossible. Yeah, I am not a Top Gun Maverick skilled R-Wing pilot, and that's lame!
Star Fox 64 is still a great game and it deserves all the praise and good reputation it has cultivated over the years. However, this is a double-edged sword, since no subsequent game, not even Adventures or Assault, has surpassed this game, and I think it is time for the franchise to emerge from the shadow of the mythical Star Fox 64. And unfortunately, Star Fox Zero did not manage yet to do that.
Yeah, Star Fox Zero was the chosen one, but the stupid gimmicks ruined probably what could be the greatest Star Fox game, with Platinum behind it. Nyeh.
Going back to Star Fox 64, I consider it one of the best Nintendo 64 games and one that cannot be missing from the collection of anyone who has a Nintendo 64 or likes retro games with arcade feel, since this game is as much of a part of the console's DNA as Super Mario 64 or The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Anyways, I give this game a 8 out of 10. Go play it already if you haven't yet.
So, what now? Wanna play Bomberman 64?
Maybe some other time. Now the show is over. So, please, get out of here already.
What a lame ending! We need a Star Fox ending, like escaping the center core of Venom and heroic music playing in the background.
Okay then. Well, that's all for now. I wanted to try another shorter review, and I might do more like this in the future. Hope that it was enjoyable to watch. See you later, guys!
You've become so strong, Fox.
Way to go, Fox!
That's our leader.